fishing news is brought to you by Navionics, Okuma, Yozuri, Evinrude, Lama Glass, and the Star Island Yacht Club in Montauk, New York. This week, as always, we'll be starting with the weather from News 12 meteorologist Rich Von Olin, who was out early yesterday morning and reported to me that he released this nice 22-inch fluke while fishing his home waters of Reynolds Channel near Lido Beach. He also landed on some nice blowfish. Now, to the weekend weather forecast.
Hey anglers, meteorologist Rich Von Olin here, News 12 Long Island Weather Center. Let's check the weekend forecast for fishing, see what we got going on. All right, we got 70s in the ocean, 70s, even some 80s in the Great South Bay water temps still up there. Kind of an iffy weekend. I'm thinking kind of rolly. We're going to have more of a southeast breeze coming in. Looks like 2 to 4 feet generally speaking. Not as choppy, more of a roll though. And maybe some bigger waves offshore. Just watch around the inlets. Could be some of those swells coming in to Jones Inlet, Fire Island, out to the east end. The sound should be okay. Again, not a lot of wind over the weekend, but again, just some rolls out there with that south, southeast, to southwest breeze coming in. Don't see a lot of rain, just some clouds here for Saturday. Most of the day should be okay. Notice that wind, the arrows there, more southeast off the ocean. So again, it's not a strong wind, but again, there'll be a little bit of a roll, a little bit of a heave in there. And the rain on the green are probably very spotty, very scattered into early Sunday morning. I don't see it all day. It should be a generally mostly cloudy weekend, and then a southwest breeze on Sunday. And it should be fairly light. I don't see anything too strong here, but again, there'll be a little bit of a roll in the ocean. Overall, though, looks like a so-so weekend. Enjoy the angling. Good fishing. Meteorologist Rich Von Olin, News 12 Long Island.
Remember to check the latest weather on News 12 before heading out. From Montauk, the word is the fishing's been a little bit slow lately. However, Scott Leonard from Top Gun Charters is still picking away at some nice fluke like this 7.5 pounder that Andy Stid caught yesterday morning. And over the weekend, he had bass up to 36 pounds, keeping his clients very happy. Now let's check in with the surf report from senior editor Fred Golofaro.
Hey, thanks, Tim. And yes, some encouraging reports on bluefish. You know, they've been kind of scarce the last few years once they depart in the spring. But there's some showing up around parts of the island. There have been a bunch of these basically snapper blues, you know, around a pound, maybe even less in some cases. But hearing a lot more now of like 2 to 4 pounders and a few rare instances, some bigger fish. But Moriches, Shinnecock, and Fire Island inlets had reports of those 2 to 4, maybe even 5 pounders. Several days this past week. The central North Shore, starting to hear some bluefish up in that area, which the sound has been pretty void of blues, again, except for those real small ones. And Montauk's north side still has blues on the outgoing during the day. Some also butting in at night, guys trying to target stripers. And the North Fork also. In North Fork, I'm hearing occasionally some of those bigger fish. There's a lot of big blues out for the boatmen, that Gardeners area, and also off Orient in the Gut and the Race. But apparently a few of them are finding their way to the beaches on the North Fork also. Bonito helping keep casters entertained. There was a nice blitz in Montauk this past Friday afternoon, in fact. Guys from the jetties and a lot of the boat guys right outside the mouth of the harbor got into a lot of 3 to 5 pound bonito. Apparently, they weren't very fussy. I had a couple of guys tell me they were hitting basically anything you threw at them, which is very unusual for bonito, but we'll take it. Way to the west, Breezy Point's had some nice shots of bonito also. And most of the inlets from Jones to Shinnecock have had an occasional shot, a few bonito, nothing consistent. But it's a good sign. Hopefully that improves as the fall approaches. And nothing yet on false albacore, but again, that's something that could happen very soon. The water temperatures are up, and usually by mid to late August they start popping up. You know, a lot of guys are looking forward to tangling with them. Still decent fluke fishing if you don't mind throwing most of what you catch back. Very few keepers, but good action from a lot of different areas, from the inlets, South Shore inlets. Even Montauk, the entrance to Montauk Harbor, along Gin Beach, Shagwong, catching plenty of fluke. The backside of Shinnecock has been good. In Fire Island, the Sore Thumb, Democrat Point, and in Jones, the backside of West End too. So, you know, there are fluke to catch. The piers too, you know, a lot of the piers along the South Shore, the ones near the inlets are producing decent numbers of fluke, but again, mostly shorts. On the bass front, still mostly quiet. The East End is still your best bet. heard rumblings of some 30-plus pounders in Shinnecock off the jetties on eels this past week, and also a few decent fish being picked on the south side of Montauk. Only a handful of guys seriously working it, but there were a few decent fish there, and that's on eels as well as darters and needlefish. Hey, just a reminder to save the date again, the Fisherman Surf Inshore Show. That's Thursday, September 19th at the Huntington Hilton. Hope to see you all there. Till next week, Fred Golofaro here for thefisherman.com.
If you're looking for a quality fishing boat that's affordable, check out a Sea Pro powered by Suzuki. For less than $400 a month gets you into all the action. Visit Kale's Family Boating Center for a test ride today. Captain Kirk Fay has this week's offshore report and forecast.
Thanks, Tim. Once again on Sunday, I ran my boat to the Coimbra area. The midshore bluefin bite is probably the best I've ever seen. In fact, we had our best day ever. We had at least 20 bluefin. All of these fish were caught either jigging or popping. It's an incredible way to fish with light tackle spinning gear. And I just wanted to talk about two things that I believe if you're going to go do this type of fishing, you must have on your boat. The first thing here, as you can see here, this is a Ron Z. This is a 4-ounce Ron Z. When you're marking fish on the bottom, okay, there's a very good chance off the South Shore of Long Island, we're very blessed with a huge sand eel population. You're going to want to have these on your boat, and it was very effective dropping these to the bottom. Quite often before it even got to the bottom, we were getting hit on them. And if you make it to the bottom, what you want to do is just reel up about 15 times, turn the handle 15 times off the bottom, and there's a chance you're going to get picked up. If you don't, just do the same thing over and over. You don't have to bring it all the way back up to the boat. Just 15 cranks and then drop down again. The other thing that we were doing that was incredibly effective was we were throwing poppers. This popper right here is a Yuzuri bull popper. Okay, very, very effective lure. It's 6.5 inches. I throw this one when it's really calm, when the water's really calm. If it's a little rougher out, I'll go with a bigger one. This is 8.5. It could cut through the wind really well and throws off a lot of water. And there is really nothing more exciting than seeing a bluefin smash a popper on the top. One other thing I will say is that if you do limit out or you're not taking any other fish home, protect your crew and actually kind of take care of the fish also. I have poppers already with, as you can see here, single hooks. Okay, these are owner 7/0 inline hooks. Maybe you don't have a spare popper, but you have the hooks on board. Change out those treble hooks because they're a lot of danger for you when you're really trying to release the fish. So you definitely want to do that. I would not leave the dock without both of these products if you want to get in on this great bluefin action that's happening around the 30 and 40 fathom curve. Until next week, good luck and be safe.
Now let's check in with Mike Dean from Shinnecock.
Thanks, Tim. Well, still those summer doldrums. I've been bugging everybody that surfcast or is fishing inshore. It's all going on offshore. A couple of days of bad weather, but Hampton's Offshore Invitational going out of Oakland's Marina in Hampton Bays. Saw some beautiful fish, some huge yellowfin, Allison yellowfin too, 123 pounds. Makos, swordfish. These guys really got out there and got some really nice fish. That continues through Sunday. Weather looks a little dicey. Most guys got their first overnight in, so we'll see what happens at the scales. Good luck to everyone that's fishing it. Surf casting, inshore bass and blues, not too much going on. It is kind of fun, though. Throw clam-belly out there for some of the rays that are around. Also, a couple of sand tiger sharks around. We were down at the beach in the Quaghampton Bays area yesterday at sunset, and there were cocktail blues jumping out of the water like crazy, and it had to be a couple of sharks on them. Great white was spotted in Montauk at Ditch Plains. So the ocean's full of life, but just not that very catchable from inshore. Although Hampton Reef has had some really good reports of porgy and sea bass, fluke bite's been a little off. Get out there and fish. You never know what's going to be on the end of the line. Thanks a lot.
The green flies love this hot weather, and so do those biting black flies. So if you're looking for an all-natural solution to protect you from these pests, try Captain Ron's, made from pure plant extract, so it smells great and it is safe too. Captain Al Lorenzetti has a report from the Fire Island area.
Hey Tim, the word from Fire Island is things are picking up. Had a good day today fishing around the inlet area. and had a nice fluke, and actually Spanish mackerel showed up, and I caught one of them on a little jig. And let's see what we got here. We got this guy, he's 6 pounds, and a Spanish mackerel, and things are looking up. You know, fishing's getting better, some bigger fish are showing, some other species now in the mix, and I expect to see the fall salvies here any day. So get out there and fish. It's going to be a great weekend. Visit my website, skimmeroutdoors.com, for all the latest news.
Rich Figula and his girlfriend Renee located some nice fluke outside the Fire Island Inlet in deeper water. Finally, the ocean fluke bite may be materializing. The West End Report is brought to you by Rachel's Waterside Grill on the Nautical Mile in Freeport. You hook it and they will cook it, and it's just $12 per entree. Call 516-546-0050 for all the details. Joey Leggio didn't have time for a report this week, but he did let me know that the Atlantic Beach Reef has lots of fluke and porgies. He took his nephew Christopher Lucchese out and had over 50 fluke, but only 4 keepers. He also said there are some nice sea bass in the mix. Now let's check in with Chris Ludwig.
Thank you, Tim. What's going on, guys? So this past week there's been a lot of cool stuff going on and a lot of life showing itself. There's been a lot of brown sharks and black tip sightings. There's been some cow-nose rays, a large amount of stingrays in varying sizes, and some green bonita albes on green bonita and albes on the beach. Getting into that, the brown sharks, we're just throwing bunker chunks in the change of the tides, and it's like clockwork. As soon as that water starts moving, they pick up the chunks and they just dump your reel. It's been incredible. So, you know, having those tags getting out there, it's a really fun fishery. The green bonita, it seems like when the sun comes up, I think they're feeding on bay anchovies. I'm not entirely sure. But from like the wash all the way to 20 yards off the beach, these little torpedoes are just pounding the bait for like an hour straight. It's been going on, at least in my eyes, for like a week and a half or so. Very cool to see. I got to get out there with a smaller spinning rod. But the sharks in the surf are incredible.
Luke Feeney has a report from Sheep's Head Bay.
To start, there are tons of fluke on the Atlantic Beach Reef, and now is the time to really get into the thick of the reef and the rubble to pull out some nice fluke. Keep it simple on the reef, since you know you do lose some rigs. I like to fish with a single hook and a sinker to avoid losing those expensive bucktails. The edges of the reef are still producing some nice fish, so that's a pretty solid bet for the rest of the summer, the whole area. There's also been a good amount of fluke further east at the McAllister grounds, and further to the south at Cholera. The fluke should be starting to move into that 90 to 100 foot range at the Cholera. The fluke tournament at Stella Maris Bait and Tackle is this Saturday, and I anticipate there will be some nice fish caught, since the big fluke are beginning their yearly run into the Deep Current and Ambrose Channel, and now is the time to go there with big baits like live peanut bunker and big meat strips to pull out some nice quality fluke. The blue claw crabs are starting to move into my creek in Garrettson Beach, and the best bet is to hit any pilings at night at a relatively low tide with a flashlight and a long crab net. The crabs are fun to catch and make a great table fare. It is a great nighttime activity for the whole family. Don't limit yourself to just the pilings though, because with the abundance of peanut bunker around this year, there are plenty of crabs just swimming through those schools of baits, so keep an eye out for them. The stripers are beginning to move in thick in both the Garrettson and Mill Basin creeks, as well as the back of Jamaica Bay by the Moriches and by the airport. The best bet for the back of the bay is with poppers early in the morning or in the evening. They are mostly shorts with a few keepers and a lot of big bluefish mixed in. The porgy bite has been inconsistent. There are not tons of fish being caught on the tin can. Most of the action is either on the Rockaway Reef or at the AB Reef, with a lot of nice sea bass and triggerfish mixed in. That's it for this week. Get out there and enjoy some great August fishing, and until the next time, tight lines.
Now let's check out our fly report from Paul McCain.
Hello, Tim. This has been a really interesting year with the hot, dry weather we've been having. I don't know, maybe that's a good thing, because right now there is plenty of bait in the back bays, as you can tell by all these skimmers that are flying around me, picking up bait off the surface. People are saying that there bluefish are running the inlet. There is great fishing out of Montauk with the bluefish, big choppers out in Montauk. And then also on the North Fork, there again, in the rips, big bluefish. In the rocks, still catching some stripers, a little bit on the smaller side, but still catching them. Now on the freshwater scene, Kenny the Hat is still hitting those carp ponds and still catching quite a few of them. And the water's been clean, very clean. Now, upstate, dry water, smallmouth, no trout. The rivers are really low. It's terrific fishing, but figure on fish for smallmouth, unless you go to the tailwaters. And then, of course, the trout are happy and you catch plenty of them. So Get out there now while you can. This summer has been really interesting. This is Paul from River Outfitters. Tight lines, everybody.
From Cow Harbor Bait and Tackle, let's hear from Mark McGowan.
Hey, it's Monday, and we're leading into this week's report. So far, this past week, we saw some really nice fish activity. Saturday had winds up to 15, 20 miles an hour, but for those guys, that's beautiful. It put us anchoring with this outgoing tide, and we just slammed the fish. Plenty of sea bass. There were nice fluke in the boat. Porgies were ridiculous. I did see some small bluefish, but plenty of snappers working inside the bay. This week coming up, we've got a full moon to contend with. That's a great thing. It's going to do a few things. We're going to look for those areas, creeks, tidal creeks, beds, back of the bay. They're going to fill up really high when this full moon comes. And what's going to happen is it's going to bring out a lot of grass, a lot of debris, and these smaller bait fish are going to stay with that for shelter. So if you see that, kind of stick with it. You might get something on your line, but don't worry, there's usually large fish. Look for these smaller school fish, bait fish, spearing, bunker, peanut bunker, coming out of the bays on the outgoing tides. And these larger fish are coming up very comfortably in 16 to 18 feet, maybe a little less, and they're catching these fish so that they're really corralling them against points, rock structures. So try those areas out if you're having difficulty catching fish and you're trying to up your game. Now also remember, with this full moon means that if you're going to target some of those areas, be well aware of your tides. It's going to be lower than normal, and it's going to be higher than normal. So make sure that you understand that. Also watch out for your anchoring. If you've got any questions or areas that might be good to fish at, always call the shop, 631-239-1631. We're always happy to help out. And if you're looking for a charter in one of the local areas, we're always like to recommend somebody, or you can always come out on our boat.
Summer is here, so if you're in the market for a cooler for your boat or truck, one that is reasonably priced, holds ice for days, and it is made in the USA, check out Orca Coolers at Marine Mate in Lindenhurst. And it's now time for Hawaiian Dan.
Thanks, Tim. Aloha. Hawaiian Dan of TalkFishTV.com reporting for the Fisherman magazine. This week I had a chance to target the south shore of Central Long Island, and I had absolutely no problem finding plenty of fluke and bluefish before having to divert to an emergency open ocean rescue. Where are you? Oh, holy crap, I'm coming! It appears a fellow kayaker's kayak began to fill full of water and sink. Now this particular angler did a few things right. Number one, he stayed calm, cool, and collected. You all right? Yeah. Number two, he was wearing a personal flotation device. And number three, he made sure to fish in the vicinity of somebody else instead of going it alone. Now if you plan on targeting the ocean from a kayak, here are a few more tips to help keep you safe. Number one, choose your days. The calmer the better. Number two, never fish from an open hull kayak, as they can easily fill full of water and sink. Not to mention, trying to get one of those full of water to shore is a daunting, if not impossible task. A closed hull kayak can be rolled multiple times through the surf and will continue to float. Number three, never take your eyes off the ocean. It's important to have situational awareness and know where you are in relation to the waves, swells, current, and other boaters. Number four, make sure that you have a working waterproof marine radio that floats. Number five, an EPIRB is an excellent accessory. And number six, be sure to download the United States Coast Guard app to your phone. It has excellent features such as a float safety plan that you can share with your family and friends, a safety equipment checklist, and even an emergency assistance button. So until next week, remember to stay safe out there, continue to look out for one another, spread as much aloha as you can, and no matter where you are in the world, you can choose to live the island life. Now back to you, Tim. Aloha.
Let's check in with Kenny Cannon.
Hey Tim, the fishing up here in the Northport, Ashrogan, Eatons Neck area has been pretty consistent. The porgies are still around, the fluke bites picked up a little bit, and at night you have a great chance of bass and some bluefish mixed in with the bass as well in the harbors and the bays. That's Huntington Harbor, Northport Bay, in that area. So I had a chance to go out to Montauk over the weekend. Not much going on out there for me at all, mainly fishing during the day. Caught some bluefish over by the Navy Beach area. But other than that, it's been pretty slow for me, anyway, out there. But I heard other people have been doing pretty well. But as far as the Northport, Ashrogan, Eatons Neck area go, again, it's all night stuff pretty much for now. Bass and bluefish in the harbors and the bays, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on this weekend. So hope everyone has a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week. Back to you, Tim.
If you'd like to be part of our weekly video fishing forecast, we're looking for social media savvy anglers for hyperlocal reporting from around the New York Metro and Long Island area. So if you're a captain, tackle shop, or just an avid angler, contact me at libayrat@gmail.com. Remember, like our video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and tap on the bell to be notified instantly when we post a new video on YouTube. And of course, be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine to be part of the Dreamboat contest. Until next week, this is Tim C. Smith for thefisherman.com. Win the incredible Steigercraft Evinrude Lowrance Grand Prize Boat Package and more in the Fisherman's 2019 Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. Get the details now at thefisherman.com.